any further ado, Helen, would you like to introduce our guest for this evening?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Cara. I am going to introduce our special guest tonight, Matt Dillahunty. Matt was a fundamental evangelical Christian for 25 years and planned on becoming a minister until his studies forced him to abandon his supernatural beliefs. Since leaving his faith, he has traveled the world to lecture and debate on skepticism, humanism, and atheism to audiences at conventions and churches. Wow, words are hard. He spent the past 20 years hosting live call-in programs to teach critical thinking skills and challenge religions and supernatural claims and privilege. So welcome, Matt. Thank you for being here tonight.
So thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. And now you can hear me.
Yes, and we are glad to hear you, and we're glad you're here. Yeah, we're pretty casual here. You can unmute yourself because you are a co-host of the meeting. The general audience cannot unmute themselves, and I realize I did say that earlier in the pre-meeting, and I can see how that would have been confusing. But you're special, so you can mute and unmute at will.
Well, it's nice to know I'm special somewhere.
Yes, you are always special here. We can't allow you to hang up on us, but well, I guess you could if you just left the meeting. But hopefully, it won't come to that.
That sounds almost like a dare.
No, it's not. Please don't.
We need this content, Matt.
I'm here.
Yes. No, and we are glad to have you. I just heard from a little bird, actually it was Dr. Ray, that you might have recently done a magic show at an engagement that you had recently. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And what does magic have to do with critical thinking?
Yeah. So I was at the Secular Student Alliance National Convention this past weekend, along with Darrel and a bunch of other people. And a few years ago, before the Backstreet Boys reunion tour pandemic, I put together a magic show that the goal was to teach skepticism and make it fun. And so it wasn't too much lecture. It was like probably 50-50 lecture and magic show, because I've been doing magic since I was 5. I don't know what I did for the first 4 years, but it wasn't as much fun. And I started, there's a lot of skeptics in the magicians movement, the Amazing Randy, and running the James Randi Educational Foundation, and the ability to test various woo claims and things like that, got me involved and participating in the skeptics movement and going to the Amazing Meeting and things like that. And it just seemed, every time I really wanted to illustrate some sort of point, my brain would go, well, a magic trick that would fool somebody, and the reasons that they're giving for why they believed this faith healer or whoever else it is they decided to believe. It's the same reasons people gave, for thinking that I had demons running through me. When I was in the Navy, I would do card tricks and just simple card tricks, and I was still a fundamentalist Christian then, and I would do tricks and people would freak out. They'd be, oh, what's it like to have all that magical power running through you? And it's just demonic. And I'm like, no, it's fucking practice. It's a ridiculous amount of me sitting down with a deck of cards, being incredibly, having, no friends or whatever, and sitting there until I could do something really cool. And so what I would end up doing is I didn't want them to think that there was anything demonic about me. I'm a Christian kid. And so I would do the trick again and show them how it was done. And they would say things like, well, that's not what you did last time. And I'm like, if I can fool you just by, having a clever brain and fingers, why on earth do you think that I was using demons before? It didn't make much sense. And so I put together the Magic Skepticism show. I did a 10-city tour of Canada, and I think another 10 cities in the US. And now I pull it out whenever somebody asks me to. So I did it for the ACA a couple of years ago, and SSA, they wanted to get me up there to do a workshop on debating, and I was like, sure, absolutely. And then somebody said, hey, would you also be willing to do the magic show? Yeah, I will. Although this time it was wild because it was in the cathedral, and it's old, and the lighting was terrible, and the acoustics were terrible, and I would, we started, I think I was done setting up and changing clothes like 5 minutes before they started letting everybody in. It was not, I will say, the best performance ever, but boy, do we have fun with it. And the following day, I did my I won't say as if it's something I've done many times, but I did a workshop for a number of students there with the SSA on debating. And it, whether it's because I'm lazy or because it's the smartest thing to do, rather than coming in with a prepared workshop, I have a debate tomorrow night, and Cliff Connectley wants to debate me on, is Christianity true? Now, I could ignore the fact that I've already got 20 some odd years of doing this as my practice for that debate and sit down and do some other work. But I thought it'd be much more fun to get the students that were there involved in, let's look at the topic. What do we think about the topic? What kind of questions do you think are going to come up? What sort of things would you want to address during this? How would you challenge a claim that Christianity is true? How would you expect that Cliff is going to be presenting the claim that Christianity is true? Is it going to be relying on the Bible? Is it going to be relying on miracles? Is it going to be relying on the popularity ideas? And so we had a great time with the workshop, and I'm really excited to see the SSA kind of becoming more active and getting more student groups participating.
I love that. I think that is such a good idea. And I think it's one of the great things that I like about when you engage with people is you seem to be really good at getting people involved in thinking about why they're thinking what they're thinking. And I don't know if it's the way you phrase questions or just kind of like what you were just describing, instead of just me talking at you, let me get engaged with you. And I'm wondering, given that you are fairly well known for letting people know in no uncertain terms if you are not particularly impressed with their reasoning on a particular issue or something like that, given how much work this is, helping people work through beliefs that may not be based in evidence, that you may hear over and over again, what keeps you coming back and having these conversations and helping people work through how they're thinking about beliefs?
Yeah, I was never Catholic, and so the concept of penance didn't really exist for me until I became an atheist. And I used to joke that it was penance, that I spent so many years, trying to lead people to the Lord, that now I'm, leading a bevy of them back out of there. My mom absolutely thinks that I'm working for Satan and leading people to hell, and nothing I can do about that, because she might also think the world is flat and a bunch of other stuff. So it's, but the honest answer is, not only do I love this stuff and it's important, I genuinely don't know how to not do it. Until I can't do it for whatever reason, I don't know how to not do it. I take breaks because, first of all, like, Twitter is a terrible place to have any sort of discussion or argument. And yet I find myself doing it over and over again. And you could be like, Matt, why on earth are you sitting there arguing with people on Twitter? And I'm always optimistic that somebody might see it and benefit from it. But I'm also pretty good about finding me time. I mean, things have been busy and hectic right now. We were lucky. Arden and I have an exotic pet business, and so we got 2 different clutches of eggs today after we were done cleaning up. Monday's always clean up the rat tubs day, and so I got back from SSA Con. She got me a new snake for our anniversary, which was yesterday. I got to spend like 5 minutes with the snake and 5 minutes with Arden, then went to sleep. Then we got up and worked all day, and we got surprised by 2 clutches of eggs today. And I'm an obsessive learner, and I'm excited about all this stuff. And when it comes, somebody's wrong on the internet, and I just can't put up with that. There's your answer.
I love it. I love it. And the internet is better for it. I am glad that you're out there doing that work. I couldn't.
Yeah, you're better you than me, man.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for doing that work. And
somebody's
also,
like, Twitter's a cesspool. I don't want to go on Twitter.
I know, but I think you're right. I think it's one of those things that we say all the time with debate. Like, you're probably not going to convince the person that you're debating with. I mean, maybe you will, it could happen, but it's the other people that are hearing you or reading what you're writing that may see something in it that benefits them. And so there's value in that. Have you had people tell you that, hey, I heard you do this debate, or I saw you on Twitter arguing with someone and this totally changed my mind on something?
Sure. Um, I might not be understanding the question.
Yeah,
But
I guess what I'm asking is, has that been confirmed for you that actually you have been able to, by having these, potentially frustrating arguments on Twitter that seem like they're going in circles, you're going nowhere, but other people that are not the person you're engaging with later come across it and are convinced by your arguments or realize, oh my goodness, I sound like that guy he's arguing with. Wow, that's a bad basis for my belief.
yeah, thousands upon thousands. It happens all the time. I've been doing this 20 years, and um, I was sitting at the airport in St. Louis getting ready to come back home, and somebody walked up and basically said that exact thing. And they weren't even there for the SSA con. They just happened to be in the airport and said, "Hey, I saw this thing you did with Sam Harris or Jordan Peterson or whatever else, and that was really helpful. So thanks." And so yeah.
Awesome. That is
That's really
excellent.
cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's got to feel good after all of the frustrating arguments to know, okay, that actually helped somebody out. So yeah, good work. Also, do you have any snakes? Can we see the snakes? I mean, are they available for show and tell?
I have about 60 snakes.
I mean, are they there with you? Can we see them?
Yeah, what I can do.
Arn showed us his snake, by the way, Matt.
Yeah.
Arn has like 30 or something like that. Let me I will send Arden a message, and if she's not busy playing Zelda, she can bring some snakes in.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, we'll look forward to it.
All right, that sounds fair.
We can have Q&A with the snakes in a little bit, maybe. Okay.
I'll probably see if we can start with Daisy. Daisy's in quarantine, and Daisy's the one that I got for my anniversary yesterday. She's
I love it.
an albino Darwin carpet python. I said, I need snakes for the show. We can start with Daisy. And she said, on it. So I would imagine there will be a Daisy in here in a moment. She's a baby. And Arden bought her as a surprise. And when she got the snake home, it ended up, sorry if this is weird or disturbing for anybody, it ended up with a prolapsed rectum. And that can happen on occasion. I mean, snakes are just a big tube. And if they eat something that's problematic, it can cause problems. And so she went to a reptile expert that we know, because while we've been doing this for a while, she hadn't had to deal with that, and managed to fix it and do it without irritating the snake, didn't get bit. And so, yeah, my new tiny baby girl is doing great. We're going to watch her for the next week to make sure that she heals up good. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yay. Let's see her.
So that is Daisy, my albino Darwin carpet python.
So pretty.
Oh, I love it. Now, how big will she get typically as an adult?
About 6 foot when she's fully grown. We might need another bigger one to show them.
Ooh.
Oh, Paul. We'll go with Paul. So I'm bringing in some Australian pythons. So the next one will be a Woma, which is one of my favorites. But yeah, she'll get to be about 6 foot.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, I love it. I am super pumped. Pets are always welcome here, and I love that you have snakes. Now, okay.
We have 60 snakes, 3 bearded dragons, a Euromastix, 5 crested geckos, a cat, dubia roaches, red runner roaches, hundreds of rats and mice.
Wait, you have roaches?
Yeah, the bearded dragons need to eat.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. You have like a whole ecosystem basically going on in your house.
We're moving out of here and moving to a farm.
Outstanding. I love that. Okay, that is so cool.
Yeah,
I am
great.
really pumped to see any of the other snakes that decide to come join us. So
Yeah, and
thank you,
now
Matt and
instead of-
Arden, for sharing.
Instead of being outstanding in a field or in a particular field, I'll just be outstanding in my own field.
Just outstanding in a field.
Right?
Looking around going, hey, are there any other animals here that I don't have yet?
Story of my life. I love that.
So
Ooh, here's
this
another
is-
one.
This is Paul. Paul is a Woma python, which is an Australian python. And I don't know how, you can kind of see his head's a little yellow. He has a girlfriend in the other room who we're not going to bring in because she will bite me repeatedly. But Paul's really chill. And I wanted we have a lot of ball pythons, and
Mhm.
I love ball pythons. We got eggs from one of them today,
Mhm.
but I wanted a woma and several other Australian pythons for years.
Mhm.
And Australia, you can't export anything or import anything from there now. So these are all captive bred from outside of Australia. And so for 30 years, I wanted one of these, and we ended up with 2 in a week. So maybe we'll be breeding some. But Paul is just, I mean, Johnny, his girlfriend, will just chew on you if she gets the opportunity. And Paul has never even made a move to flinch. I mean, I can boop him on the
Aw.
snoot. Boop. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's just chill. A buddy.
I
Anyway,
love that so
I love it
much.
too.
Amazing. And you know what? I totally forgot to give a trigger warning because we began this episode by asking if anyone had a fear of snakes. And before reviewing those results, I asked you to show us snakes. Would you be interested in seeing how many people we just terrified out of their minds by reviewing the poll results?
yeah, I hope nobody was terrified just seeing one on the screen. But if you were, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, I was just thinking I have a terrible phobia of spiders, and I have been gotten by a few PowerPoint presentations where I was not expecting there to be a picture of a spider, and then there it was, and I may have fallen out of my chair. I'm not confirming or denying whether that happened. So sorry about that, anybody who answered yes if you're afraid of snakes. Let's see what they said. I'll share the results. So the first question that we asked was not about snakes. It was, have you changed your mind on any core beliefs that you have held in your life? And actually 77% of respondents said yes, several. 19% said they've changed their mind on one or two. 5% said no. Now, when it comes to snakes, we asked, are you afraid of snakes? And yeah, sorry, 12% of people have a serious snake phobia. Oops. 42% of people are a little afraid of snakes, but 47% said nope, not afraid of snakes. So hopefully that was fun for the people who don't have a phobia. And for those of you who do, maybe that helped a little bit with some exposure. Not sure. Now, Matt, I've got a follow-up question about the snakes.
Sure.
To what extent was your interest in having pet snakes to do with this kind of idea within some religious communities that snakes are associated with Satan or evil powers or something like that? Was that a little bit of
No,
it?
I had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Okay. All right. So
I can't even explain it. I mean, it's I always liked snakes. I was not allowed to have them growing up, not because they were demonic or the source of the sinful fall in the Garden of Eden, but because my mom just wasn't going to have it. And I just always liked them. I liked a variety of reptiles, but I mean, snakes were my favorite. We have other reptiles too, I mentioned, but it's, I don't know, maybe it is kind of the, how counterculture you, oh, I don't need a dog or a cat. I've got a snake. But it's just, I just find them intriguing. The notion that there's basically a super fancy legless lizard that can eat a variety of stuff. There's so much to learn. We're breeding them. I'm bringing some others later to kind of show what we're breeding, but snakes are incredibly efficient. I have a male in there that hasn't eaten since November and has not really lost weight. They can go on a hunger strike for months, over a year. I've seen some of them go 18 months. And when the females start building follicles, they will eat quite a bit while they're building up. And then once the follicles start to turn into eggs, then they stop eating because there's no room in them for anything other than eggs. And they will then start eating again after the breeding season's over. And the male snakes will often go off food at the same time, whether it's, kind of like a sympathetic pregnancy sort of thing or what, we don't know. But they're super efficient. They barely have to drink anything. They don't have to eat much to maintain their weight. They're just amazing, and they're all different. Like the pythons I've got lay eggs, but boas give live birth, and garter snakes give live birth. And I'm an obsessive learner, and so is Arden, and we joke about how we share a brain because every time we find something we're both interested in, we just like obsess over it. And like a year ago, we had one snake. I started breeding in the early 90s and stopped because of my roommates. And a year ago, we had one snake, and now I've got 60, and I have an incubator in my garage, and 12, 18, 20, 22 eggs already incubating, and 3 more clutches coming. I don't know. Enough about that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, sorry. I leave it to me to go off on a tangent about animals. It's what I do. It's what I study. It's my research interest. Sorry. But okay. Speaking of constantly learning, back on track here. So I love that you mentioned in your bio that you were basically a fundamentalist Christian for a while. You were planning on possibly becoming a minister. And obviously, that is not what happened. But I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about your journey of exploring your beliefs and how you came to have such a reversal on those, going from planning to become a minister to basically being a professional debunker of supernatural claims? How did you achieve this? What was that process like for you?
People in my church and my parents both all thought that I was going to be a minister. I was terrified of becoming a minister. So when I graduated high school, I left and joined the Navy. I had a girlfriend. I wanted to get married. I did not want to be a preacher. And I sincerely believed, but I probably lacked confidence and understanding, which is really weird for me to say, because I walked down the aisle at a revival at the age of 5. Accepted Jesus into my heart, and I was active in the church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night visitation. Tuesday night was something else. Wednesday night services. Thursday night was youth group. And then on the weekends, there'd be mission trips and other stuff. And then I went to church Camp Windermere in Lake of the Ozarks, summer after summer. And it was, and despite all that, I wasn't super Christian. I wasn't the Bible banger. I didn't, there was nothing holier than thou. It's just, that's what I did. That's where my friends were. That's where my family were. I was at church more than my parents by a lot. Like, they'd go on Sunday morning and I was there all week. And, but we did all, I drank when I wasn't supposed to and felt incredibly guilty about it. And the church had this kind of guilt cycle thing anyway, where you were never, anything that was wrong with your walk with Christ was because you were a fallen sinner. If you had, hey, we know you're a teenager, you're going to lust, but God's, not happy with that. So even though you were saved, there was this constant, I'm going to make you feel guilty, and then you're going to rededicate your life to Christ, and then you're going to feel guilty again, and then you're going to and it was this loop, and it's self-reinforcing, and it keeps you involved in it. And that's where all my friends were. And despite all of that, and despite, standing up in front of the church many times when youth group would take over the church, I'd stand up and talk and everything else. I was terrified of public speaking. I was just not at all confident, even though I could talk with pastors and my parents, and they'd be like, oh, he has such wonderful insight into what the Bible says and such a great spiritual understanding and all this. And they were all convinced that I was going to be a preacher. And I ran. And so I ended up in the Navy for 8.5 years. And when I found my way out, I moved from Norfolk, Virginia to Austin, Texas. And I went to work for Dell Computer. I'm completely self-taught on everything. So I was also self-taught on both hardware test and software test and software development. And I was in that business for a long time until just after or just before 9/11. I lost my job because I did it too well. I got all my work done for the next 6 months, and they called me in and said, hey, we don't have anything for you to do, so we're gonna have to let you go. And I was stunned. I worked so hard. I worked alongside people who'd been doing this for 20 years, who were slower and worse at it. And I'm like, why don't you give me his work? I just proved to you I can do 6 months worth of work in 1 month. Why on earth wouldn't you? You're paying me less. Let me do his job. I'll get it done before he can do it, and I'll start today. And no, they've got seniority and blah, blah. And I was pissed because, I'd been taught, if you have a good work ethic and you're, you do the right thing and you're dedicated to it, you will get ahead. And instead, I ended up unemployed for almost 18 months. And I thought God was punishing me. I thought God was saying, hey, I told you to be a preacher, and you decided that you'd rather go make money in the tech industry and go hang out at a strip club and hang out with your friends and smoke cigarettes and do all this other stuff, and drink and all the things that I told you not to do. So I'm going to take it all away. And so I said, okay, God, if that's what you want me to do, I'll do it. And I spent the next year and a half pretty much in really serious prayer and study. My roommate at the time was an atheist, and I didn't want to get into ministry and then, ultimately die and have God say, hey, here's your roommate who's an atheist. Why weren't you witnessing to him? Why is this guy who you love like a brother, why is he rotting in hell because you were afraid to talk to him? So I set out to figure out how best to convince an atheist. And to make a way too long short story, just slightly less long, it backfired spectacularly. And on the drive to work one day, I looked at him and I said, I think I might be kind of agnostic. And he's like, cool. And we just kept going to work. It was a nothing. And then people like Penn and Teller, who I'd admired for years, they kind of made it okay for me to use the atheist label. They were out and brash about we're atheists. And I was like, I'm an atheist too, even before I really had a good enough understanding of what I was doing. But
when you were going through that process, like, did you go through a lot of deconstruction and like kind of hand wringing over it, or was it just like a let go? Like, well, this is all BS. I'm gonna let it all go.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. I know some people who really struggle with it, and their deconversion process is very difficult. And mine, the more I read and the more I studied, the more I tried to find ways to convince an atheist, the more obvious it became that just wasn't going to happen. And when I learned, and my brain, I've been a skeptic for ages. I just hadn't applied skepticism to my religious beliefs. And when I did, it all fell apart fairly quickly. And apart from anxiety about what do you tell your parents, I didn't have really a lot of negative impact. For me, it was mostly positive and mostly liberating. And then I did some things that I don't think too many people really get the opportunity to do, or don't take the opportunity to do, which is I had to do an inventory of everything that I believed. It was, if I'm opposed to murder, why? Well, because the Bible said, you're not supposed to murder. Okay. If you're not a Christian, now you need a new reason to be opposed to murder. And you need a new reason for this. And what do you think about abortion? And what do you think about, gay rights? What do you think about same-sex marriage? What do you think about anything and everything? And so it was, I don't know, obsessed, anal, whatever word we need to put on it. I went through virtually everything I believed to figure out, should I maintain this position or should I give it up? And I can only maintain it if I have good reasons for it. Is there free will, or do I have to give that up? And that also taught me a lot about saying there's a difference between believing something's true, not believing something's true, and believing something's false. Those are three different things. And a lot of it has to do with many of the propositions in religion aren't falsifiable. And I see many atheists, and I wind up arguing with atheists more than theists these days anyway. But I see many of them who are like, oh, all gods are made up. Oh, really? How'd you prove that? How do you demonstrate that none of them are real? I agree with you that I don't believe any of them are real, but when you could take the extra step, say, nope, they're all fiction. Okay, how'd you determine that? I'm not saying you can't, but if you're claiming that you falsified the unfalsifiable, you're no less irrational than the people you're objecting to who claim to have proven that which can't be proven, or effed the ineffable.
I love it. So I'm actually really glad you brought that up. I wanted to ask you about that because that mirrors in some ways my experience too, I also grew up kind of fundamentalist Christian and then realized at some point, oh, wow, I have been believing a lot of things that are probably either not true or that I can't demonstrate are true. And I've told the story on here before. I got all the way to being a graduate teaching assistant in a forensic anthropology class before I realized that men and women don't actually have a different number of ribs. It's not the case that, because of the Genesis story, that men have one less rib than women typically. Like, I was walking around with beliefs like that well into adulthood after no longer believing in, the religious beliefs that I grew up with, but it occurred to me that I was walking around with a lot of other beliefs and assumptions that I hadn't taken the time to examine since abandoning, the God belief. And I think there are probably a lot of people that deal with that, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. I'm wondering if you have any advice for people that are just starting to deconstruct, starting to realize, hey, I don't believe all this anymore. What's a good way to kind of get started unpacking all of these beliefs? Like, what is there a good way to begin going through them? What do we do?
Yeah, probably not the best person to address this, but I can tell you what I think. It's
Please
going to be
do.
different for absolutely everybody. Cut yourself some slack. You don't owe anybody ever, whether they are a blood relative, whether you are their dependent, whatever. You don't owe anybody an explanation for who you are, what you think, or what you believe. And if you're not comfortable and not ready engaging on the subject, first of all, stay away from the A word. But also, it can just be, you can be honest without and cause fewer problems. For example, it would have been very easy for me to go to my mom and say, Mom, I think I want you to pray for me. I'm really struggling. I'm having doubts about whether or not a God exists, or I'm not convinced that I still believe the same things that I used to believe. You can do that. But the thing that I generally recommend about the more of the coming out process than the deconstruction process is just gradually allow yourself to be more and more who you are. And eventually people are going to start asking questions. And a good chunk of them are probably going to ask them in a much more diplomatic way. I doubt some people might get up in your face and like, are you an atheist now? I doubt it. Most of them are going to be, you haven't been to church lately, or, how are you feeling about this? Or how's your walk with God? Or all these other things. And you can honestly express your legitimate doubts and concerns while engendering some empathy, I would hope, from a good number of them, and not making it confrontational. And when it comes to coming out, I mean, for the longest time, I've always recommended that people stop doing okay, let me get everybody together and I'm going to sit you all down and I have something very important to tell you, because all that's true. I mean, this is a big deal. But the thing to remember is that you're the one in the relationship who's changing. And that means you're going to have to cut them some slack for a while, but you don't get to let anybody walk. You don't have to let anybody walk all over you. And so the most important things, apart from possibly reaching out to the Secular Therapy Project or recovering from religion, is to find people in your area that you want to interact with who have been through something similar or are going through something similar, because there's virtually no way you are actually alone in this, and recognizing that is going to make things a lot easier. And when I come on, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've told my deconversion story thousands of times, and I'm probably multiple thousands, but at least 1,000 times. And every time somebody's like, wow. And I saw it in chat just a little while ago. Wow, that sounds a lot like mine. Yes, it does. And if you think about it, we make those connections all the time. It's like, oh, wow, that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me. And we seem surprised about it. But we look at all the world religions. They're all similar in some respect, because we are similar creatures trying to answer similar questions. We're going through similar circumstances. It's not all identical. I have a huge advantages that other people haven't had. And I have to recognize that, but the notion that you have to go through this alone is an absolute lie. And it's not just a lie. It is one of the things that religions bank on. Not only do they give you this, or they convince you that you have a fictional illness that only they can cure, and then they offer you their homeopathic remedy, but they make you think that if you're not accepting of this, if you're starting to question, if you're starting to doubt, if you're not part of this, you're the weird one and nobody will want you. And there's nobody out there for you. Here's where your community is. And it doesn't matter if you are in an absolutely vile church like Westboro Baptist, or if you're in the hippy dippy gay friendly church in San Francisco. This stuff still happens. It's just not always as obviously insidious. Any organization, any group, any family member that's trying to make you feel like you're somehow inferior merely for having doubts and questions and not accepting claims without good enough evidence, that's a demonstration of their fear and their concern that they might also secretly agree with you.
I think also too, you brought up a point about how these, groups will try to keep people in. And a good way they do that is painting atheists as like evil people. We don't have any morals. We worship the devil. I don't know how that works, but fine. And all these different sort of ideas to keep people in. And I think that's why people stay a lot of time, because they're afraid that they're not going to find friends, that they're going to be alone and they're going to lose that community, and they'll sit in the pew not believing, but they're like, I don't know where to go.
There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And I've been working with this movement for almost 20 years. And something new comes up from time to time. In the early days, or my early days, not the early days, my early days with the movement, it was, why is it always just a bunch of old white guys with beards sitting around congratulating themselves on getting the correct answer to the easiest question ever, and having a little bit of knowledge of philosophy? Where are the women? Where are the people of color? Why aren't we reaching these other communities? And then a handful of the old white guys would be, well, that's mission creep. They can come. They're welcome. We're not stopping them from coming. Nobody's, no, you are stopping them from coming, because you're not doing the sort of things that make people who aren't currently a part of your organization welcome. And then it moves on from there to, well, hang on. Religion is one of the primary motivators for people having objections to LGBTQ community. What are we going to do to make sure that they're welcome? What are we going to make sure that they feel that they're a part of this community? Oh, no, that's mission drift. We should only be about atheism. This is an atheist movement. We're about atheism. We don't need to. I was told when I took over now granted, I've been called a transphobe this week, which surprised Arden, but it could be true. And yet when we're engaging on these issues, when I first started as president of the atheist community of Austin, there was a board member who, anytime we mentioned anything about the queer community, if we said, hey, we want to have a table at Pride, oh, no. This organization is becoming way too gay for me. And I was like, good, get the fuck out. This is where it has, because the entire purpose of what we're trying to do in what I was trying to do in that organization, now what I'm trying to do with the line, and one of the reasons why I've loved working with Recovering for Religion all these years is we have enough academic, pedantic, bearded douchebag lecturers. We just do. And I don't mean that as a slap on them, because they've done great work and it's essential. But Margaret Downey told me years ago at one of these events that what she'd love to see at conventions, and what she thinks we need to see more of, are people telling their stories, because that's how you build those connections. We need all of it. We need somebody to get up and give a lecture on biblical contradictions and criticism. We need Darrel to give up a lecture on sex and God. We need people to stand up and tell their deconversion stories, because while they're all going to be different, that's how we connect. And that's the sort of thing that needs to happen in expanding these communities.
Ooh, I am so glad that you brought that up. Thank you for saying that. Like, amen. We don't say amen here. Okay, ramen.
You should, because amen is not a religious term and doesn't have anything to do with any doctrine or anything else. It is just an affirmation and assent. I say amen all the time because it gets a chuckle at atheist events, and then people learn something new.
Hey, okay, I
I
did
learned
not know
something new.
that. Well, there you go. That's
There you
what
go.
we're here for. Amen. Do you say bless you after people sneeze?
Fuck no.
Okay, cool. I try to go with something like Hail Satan, but just checking.
My favorite, I realize that I can use whatever language, but I probably won't drop a million F-bombs today. But Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller famously said that he taught his kids to say that's funny whenever someone would sneeze, because it is. It's a really peculiar thing. And so, yeah, I don't do the bless you thing, but it doesn't bother me. Like, I sneezed in the car this weekend with 3 family members, and I don't know how religious any of them were. And they all intuitively or instinctively, reflexively just said, bless you. And then they kind of paused and waited to see what I was going to say. And I just let it go.
You didn't hang up on them or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an atheist and I still say bless you because it's just ingrained in my brain,
Yep.
and but I don't, I'm like, I'm being polite.
Yeah. And not to name drop left and right, but when the first time I met Neil deGrasse Tyson, we were talking about why he was not using the atheist label. And I apologized to him because I had called him a douche on the atheist experience. And I explained why. And he was like, well, if everybody used the term the way you used it, I would use it too. And I was like, okay, well, if they start misusing astrophysicist, are you going to drop that term? And he was like, well, that's a good point. You can tell your fans that it was okay to call me a douche. But
that's awesome.
That's great.
He was irritated because he had said Godspeed to some astronauts, which is just a matter of tradition. It's not even in the ballpark of putting "In God We Trust" on the money, which, by the way, there's so much wrong in the world. I have 0 spoons to deal with, "In God We Trust" on the money. We lost Roe. We lost the Supreme Court. We lost, I'm spending every day wondering when my relationship's going to become illegal, because we live in Texas with one of the worst trans haters on the planet. Texas and Florida are like dueling to see who can destroy the trans community quicker.
Yep, it's the worst stick whacking contest ever, because I'm in Florida.
And not just that, it's not just that needs to be the focus. Once again, Greg Abbott just shipped a bunch of migrant workers to Los Angeles. They're taking immigrants who are desperately trying to become part of this and using them as pawns and puppets and political fodder, tossing it around. I do not understand the world that I lived in. And I was just saying yesterday, if I had a time machine and went back to, let's say, 2010, 2011, and walked into an atheist conference and said, hi, I'm future Matt, and let me tell you what the world's going to look like in 2023. Every single person there would have said, get a load of this guy. Let's get him some help. He needs to be locked up. There's no way any of that's going to happen. There's no way Roe is going to get overturned. There's no way we're going to lose the Supreme Court for. There's no way Donald Trump's going to be president. There's no way this, the millions of things. I had been so incredibly optimistic about progress we'd made on church-state separation and on eliminating religious privilege. And all of that started fading about 7 years ago. And it's like, I can't bring myself to sit here. I love, I'm doing a debate tomorrow night on Christianity. I'm happy to engage with theists, and we'll continue to debate theists. I'm debating Christians and Muslims and everybody else. But I think one of the reasons why the secular community, not just, the pandemic has taken its toll on conventions and stuff like that. There's a general weariness in the United States and across the board, and religious freedom, while we have to do a better job of explaining how this is important and how religious privilege has to be countered, because it's at the foundation. For years, we've been saying what you're witnessing here. This is the death throes of the religious dragon. And I think that's correct, but man, does it get violent right before it dies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I think that is what we're seeing, and that doesn't make it any less harmful. They are doing their best. And I hate to use the, general they, but the people that are promoting these very fundamentalist beliefs that are directed towards harming or erasing or excluding from public life people with different beliefs or identities, or choices in their life, than what they are accustomed to. I'm sorry, this is not democratic. This and it is harmful. And yeah, I keep trying to console myself with the idea that, well, yes, this is the death throes of people that just cannot come to terms with the fact that we live in a changing world, and culture is dynamic. It changes all the time. People are moving on from this belief system in many ways, but it is so harmful. They are hurting so many people. What do we do about that, Matt? How do we incorporate that knowledge into our work as activists or just as people who live in the world? How do we deal with this now while it's happening?
I get the impression that you just asked me how to fix the fucked up world.
Yes,
Yes, Matt,
we
tell
saved
us.
all the big questions for you.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I've had the answer for years and have just been waiting for somebody to ask so that I could toss it out there. Yeah,
That's why you came here, Matt.
I don't know. It's driving me mad. I wish I knew. I wish I had a great answer. All I can do right now is continue to push for what I've pushed for years, which is to keep trying to educate people, to fight misinformation, to teach critical thinking and skepticism, but to expose not just that religious privilege exists and is real, but its actual, the actual harm that it does and the impact that it has on people. I wish I live in a world, as if you guys live in a different world.
Which one are you living in?
Not the one I wanted, but
Yeah.
I tell you, it's all Turner's fault. Did a bunch of particle acceleration and pushed us into the shitty universe. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
we live in a world now where people believe the earth is flat for the first time in I don't know how long. I don't understand. I don't. We have more access to more and better information than ever in the history of the world. That's just a simple fact. And you have quicker and easier access to all of it. And despite that, it's like the world operates as if we have less access to that information.
Yes.
I really wish I knew what to do to fix it. The only thing I can do is to keep trying, because even if what I've opted to do turns out to be not nearly as effective as I'd hoped, I got to think it's better than doing nothing. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I want to take a day off every now, like, I got this tonight, I got a debate tomorrow, I've got my show on Wednesday, Arden's got her show on Thursday. Friday, I'm taking the day off to do stuff around the house, and Saturday I'm going to a reptile convention. And that's those 2 days are how I'm going to recharge before I get back on the Sunday show to argue with theists again.
I love that you made time for the reptile convention. I think that is awesome. But I mean, yeah, I have to say, I think you're doing a lot of good work on this. I think it is definitely the case that, yes, that is better than doing nothing. You are doing a lot. And I think you hit on something really important when you mentioned earlier about being self-taught in so many different areas. And as someone who is just embarrassingly overeducated myself, I think that this is something that we really lose sight of sometimes, is the fact that people are encountering information all day, every day, and we have to have a way to referee that information and evaluate those claims just in our daily life. It doesn't matter if you have a degree in, astrophysics or whatever. You're going to be encountering information all day, every day about a whole bunch of other topics that you're not an expert in. Do you have any advice for people about just doing that, sorting through information that they're being bombarded with all day long? How do we deal with this?
Yeah, first of all, take a breath, because the weird thing here, as somebody who's debated conspiracy theorists, theists, a parade of irrational people on a number of different topics, for some reason, despite the fact that I'm self-taught, in order for me to be taken seriously, I have to somehow become an expert, or at least incredibly knowledgeable, on the Bible, the Quran, logic, epistemology, astrophysics, evolution, abiogenesis, chemistry, radioactive dating, just in order to push back against the people who are convinced that they do understand these subjects better than the experts. And that's a lot. I have snakes coming, by the way.
Yes,
for me,
bring them on.
Like, for me, that type of attitude is very disgusting to me. It's like the height of arrogance. Like, I know better than you. I know better than the expert, and it's just very frustrating. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Who is this?
This is Mayfield. He's a ball python, and
I love ball
he
pythons.
has two different morphs, lavender albino and piebald, and together they make something called a dreamsicle. Now he looks a little yellow on here, but he's a little more orange. And then we've been pairing him. Oh, sorry. This is Demi, and she is a piebald. Piebald's where you get the white taking over areas. And she's piebald, but she's also orange dream and het for lavender albino. So she will breed with Mayfield to make more snakes that look like Mayfield, only oranger. That's good. Thanks.
That's so cool.
I love this.
Snakes.
Thank you for showing us your snakes. I love this. And we're getting a lot of questions in the chat about the snakes.
I will try to make those answers much, much shorter. So without doing anybody's name, what's a morph? A morph is a phenotypical presentation of a gene. Just like blue eyes is a morph. Blue eyes being a recessive trait, you'd have to get the gene from both parental sides. So there are recessive traits like piebald and lavender albino, and then there are incomplete dominant traits like orange dream and others. I'm going to do, you can search for Epigloot Exotics, because I'm going to be going through the genetics and all that stuff on our snake page as well. For the person who asked if you can see the eggs, you can't see them here, but I've already posted pictures and we'll be posting some others. I'm just not going to go down and pull eggs out of the incubator just so people can see what they look like. I'd like them to turn into snakes.
That's fair. That's fair. We support that.
I need them to turn into snakes, because we have so many that selling off the babies at reptile conventions and things like that are important.
Fair enough.
Gail's showing the picture, I think.
I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, outstanding. Okay. Well, and on that note, it's probably a good time to start thinking about transitioning to our Q&A portion of the show. But before we do that, Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about where people can find you currently and what you're up to now? Share any links or plugs for anything?
I don't know. If you Google my name, you'll probably find me. The big thing is that I do a number of shows on YouTube, on the Line Network. I'm no longer with any of the Atheist Community of Austin shows, but I am doing multiple shows a week. I do the Sunday show on Sundays. I do the Hang Up on Wednesdays, which tends to dip a little more into political stuff and LGBTQ stuff and science education than merely about religion. The Line, I don't have a link, but if you...
I've got it.
Yeah, somebody can get it in chat. The Line is run by Jimmy Snow. And so on Monday, you'll get shows like Skep Talk, where we try to get actual experts like scientists and biology teachers like Forrest Valkai to interact with people. Tuesdays is Dave Warnock does Dying Out Loud. talking about his process of living before he dies. And on Wednesdays, I do my show, The Hang Up, which turns out to be, it was a great pun because I'm known for hanging up on people, but the show's about whatever my hang up is for the week. And it could be, I've done one where my hang up was snakes, where Aaron and I came on and talked about our gazillion reptiles. And I've done a number of them about political things and voting and bills that got passed. Thursdays is the Transatlantic Call-In Show, and that's where people, especially transphobic and or confused people, can call in and speak to a real live trans person, including people like Dr. Ben, Katie Montgomery, Arden Hart, and get their questions answered. And they get to be as just about as bigoted and bizarre as they want to, because that's an opportunity to educate. When people come in and they're like, asking the most ridiculous questions, I love that it prompts actual good conversation. And that show should be the most, I'm not just saying this because I'm basically married to one of the hosts, but it should be the most popular show on the network, because not only is it important, but it's fun. But anything about sex or anything that's too controversial, YouTube will end up kind of doing shadow bans on. And so go give Takis a watch on Thursday.
Hey, Cara, do you want to plug when you're going to be on the Transatlantic show?
Yeah, I think that might be this Thursday. So,
are you really?
Yes, I am non-binary, so I will be on there to discuss that, which is part of it's. Some people consider that to be sort of under the umbrella of transgender. Sure. It is a little bit of it's a particular experience. So we'll probably talk about that.
Yeah, but you're eligible to be on the show, and I'm not.
Hey,
and that is a very, very, very good thing, because they, I'll argue trans rights all day long with whoever, but I'm not what we need on the Transatlantic Call-In Show at all. I'm probably not needed anywhere other than whatever show I happen to be on, and some people would debate that.
Well, I mean, you're always needed where you are, and that is where you are. But no, and but to your point, I think that is really important to have those spaces to platform people's voices who are speaking about their own experiences. Obviously, that's who needs to be speaking about those experiences. But it is also tremendously important to have someone like you who is well known, who has a loud voice, both, physically and metaphorically speaking, being able to say, hey, listen to these folks over here. They're talking about something important. That is a great benefit to people in the community, to have allies out there saying, hey, yeah, actually shut up and listen. And thank you for doing that. Yes.
Thanks for saying that. It's another thing where I don't really take a lot of credit for stuff I do. Don't get me wrong. For years, I was just like, oh, I'm just some guy that talks on the show. I know when I'm good at what I do. I've been doing stuff for 20 years, and I know what kind of impact it has. But like I said, when you asked, how can you keep doing this? How can I not? The world's fucked up. Somebody's wrong on the internet. I have something to say about it. People are willing to listen a little bit, or at least they hate me enough to where they're trying to prove me wrong, and they keep failing. So I got to do it. But yeah.
I love it. Well, it has been great, and we are so glad to have you here. And I think on that note, now might be a good time to get into some of our audience questions. What do you say?
All right, well, do my best to give answers, including I don't know.
That is a perfectly acceptable answer. We appreciate that here. Okay, so Helen and I will trade off. I guess I'll take the first one. Someone is wondering, in all of your years of experience, what is the best and what is the worst way to interact with people who hold polarizing beliefs?
I don't know. And I've seen a variety of different tactics be successful. I genuinely love the people who can remain calm and clever. I saw a meme just the other day where someone was standing in line with their child, and their child was a toddler, and it was acting up. And the gentleman behind them said something like, if I'd done that when I was a kid, I would have got my ass beat. And she just turned around and looked at him and said, are you okay? I can't do that. I would turn around and say, maybe that's why you turned out to be a prick. But I think the world needs both, and different ones are going to work in different situations. And also, those aren't the only options. There's since you were beaten as a child, we've learned quite a bit about the actual impact of that. And while you may think that you turned out okay, it may be the case if you're advocating for violence against children, you didn't turn out okay. And perhaps you should seek some help, or at a minimum, keep your mouth shut when you're talking in front of my kid. But I don't know. I can't help not throwing the jab in. It's just who I am. But I'm not going to pretend to know the best way. That's one of the things when we went through the debate workshop this weekend. I was like, I'm not even going to come close to saying I'm right. I do what I do in part because that's just the way I have to do it. And there are other people who may do it much better or have better results. And I may have screwed things up, but I figured out really quickly, I am, just no matter what anybody believes, I am probably my harshest critic. When I leave a debate or a show, or I'm replaying it in my head going, oh, why did I say that? Why couldn't I have done it this way? Should have done it this way. And I think if you do that, it's how you keep making progress. I think that I'm different and better at some of the things than I was when I started 18 years ago. And how sad would it be if that wasn't the case? But
yeah, that's one of the best things about, like we like to say on here, get excited about being wrong, because that means you just learned something. Why would you want to go your whole life never learning a single new thing? Oh, I was right about everything to begin with. I have not grown in 20 years. Come on.
Yeah, that'd be a miracle right there. Hey, we found somebody who's right about everything from the beginning. Clearly miraculous, must be a god.
I think I have some family members in that category, but
I certainly have family members who think they're in that category.
I do too. So
yes. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's good to hear. We're all human like Matt.
I didn't say I was human.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I'll let the cat out of the bag on that one. All right, Helen, what else do we have for Matt?
So I think you kind of answered this when you were describing your journey out of religion, but if you wanted to expand on it just a little bit, what led you to considering yourself agnostic when trying to convince your old roommate?
I just kind of reached a point where I knew I didn't believe what I used to believe. And I didn't really know how else to label it. It was very much am I an atheist? Well, I think atheist is someone who, claims to know that there's no God, and I can't go that far. And it became very clear to me that I didn't have any good reason to be a theist or an atheist of any stripe. Sorry, I didn't have justification to call myself that. And I think it's the same as many other people. It's like you need some time to kind of work yourself into it. It's like, it's a big change to go from being in church 5-6 days a week to being, I think this is bullshit, but I'm not quite ready to use that harsh of language for it.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I like that. Now, this next one is a little bit of a personal question, so feel free to answer if you want to. I know you've talked a little bit about this before. So,
given the personal questions that I answered this weekend, where I had somebody ask me how sex works,
that's fair.
I think we're good to go.
I'm gonna be real. We probably would have moderated a question like that out of our list.
I'm ready. I'll tell you all kinds of. Darrel's not the only one here who can talk about sex.
That's true. If you have opinions on duck penises, we do need to know about those.
I think they should stop being described as corkscrews because they're not going to open a wine bottle.
Ooh, fair point. Maybe that is the key to better competition among the ducks. I don't know.
Opening wine.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it helps set the mood. Okay, moving on to the other personal question. How do you deal with the fact, and it's a two-part question, how do you deal with the fact that your parents may think that you're leading people to hell? Do they give you a hard time and about not believing? And if so, how do you deal with that?
No, they no longer give me a hard time. We've had a number of conversations over the years, including like a 6-hour argument with my mom right around the time that Trump was elected, covering everything from politics to religion. Um, they know and have flatly said they are closed-minded. They are not equipped to have those discussions with me. I know and understand all of these topics better than them. And if they want to maintain any sort of relationship with me, they'll knock it off. Because as much as my brother's my favorite person, just period, on the planet. And, while we don't agree on everything, there's nothing that's going to come between me and my brother. My parents, though, I love them. That doesn't mean I always like them or what their beliefs are. And they definitely don't like me or what my beliefs are most of the time. But as uncomfortable as it may be, people in my life are either going to appreciate me for who I am, or I don't need them around. They're either going to respect the people, my partner, or I don't need them around. They're going to respect my boundaries, or I don't need them around. It doesn't matter to me if I am blood related to somebody. That seems to me to be just as preposterous a foundation for a relationship as any other you can come up with. And so at the end of the day, I'm respectful when I'm in their house. I don't go over to their house to say, you guys need to stop believing in Jesus. I keep telling you, stop believing in Jesus. And they'll break the rules on occasion. My mom has found new ways of doing it, where she'd be like, well, your father and I believe that this is all what God had planned. And then she's not making a claim and doesn't have to defend anything. She's just saying, this is what your father and I believe. And I've taken to saying things like, well, I believe that's bullshit. Because when I was the only atheist when I was the only known atheist in the family, turns out there's quite a few others in our family. They'll tell me, they won't tell anybody else. But if you're there at Christmas or whatever, and all the religious talk starts up, I would keep my mouth shut. And the day I stopped keeping my mouth shut is the day those conversations stopped having in front of me.
Excellent. Okay, and I kind of have a follow-up question on that too, then. I think a lot of us, if we grew up in some of the more fundamentalist backgrounds, there's this tendency to sometimes internalize this belief that, you're broken, you're not worthy, you shouldn't be thinking about yourself, you need to be putting others ahead of yourself, don't be selfish, if you're thinking of something that feels good, that's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I think for a lot of people, it takes a while during their deconstruction process, or at least it was the case for me, to start also believing, yeah, actually, it's okay for me to advocate for myself and to demand that other people treat me with respect. Was that a process that you went through? And do you have any tips for kind of developing the ability to basically speak up for yourself after years of indoctrination saying you're not worth being spoken up for?
Yeah, selfishness gets a bad rap. First of all, self-care is usually what we're talking about, not selfishness in some kind of nefarious way. But you can be entirely selfish and justify altruism from that. I want to live in a world that benefits me. I'm selfish enough that I want to live in a world that benefits me. And the world where I choose to give and help out people encourages other people to do that too. And it increases the likelihood that I will be a recipient of those benefits. So for purely selfish reasons, I can justify what appears to be altruistic notions. What I find really selfish is to say, no, you don't get those rights, and I'm going to legislate those rights away, not because of anything to do with you or your beliefs, but because I don't want to irritate my God. What could be more selfish than thinking that you are the special creation of the creator of the universe and that he wants you to make sure the two people next door aren't happy.
That's a fair point.
That seems very exhausting.
Yeah. It does seem emotionally exhausting
It would,
to
yeah.
be that worried about what every single other person in the world is doing.
I will say that it extends out beyond the religious stuff. So today was rat cleaning day, and what that is that we're raising rats and mice both as pets for people. So if you need a pet, you can contact me, but also as feeders for the snakes. But trash day is Tuesday, and Monday, you have to clean the rat cages every week. If you go 2 weeks, you will not be able to go near those rat cages. The ammonia, just smell and all that's just terrible. But if we clean them every single week, I'm very sensitive to smells. We have to use a special cat litter. Otherwise, I can't have a cat in the house. But if we clean them every week, I don't have any problems. And yet, so I'm out there in the driveway in the 100-degree heat on Mondays with a pressure washer, pulling out tubs, dumping stuff in trash cans, spraying it down, everything else. And Arden and I were having a conversation, and one of us said something like, what if one of the neighbors comes over and asks what you're doing? And I was like, I think I'll probably tell him I'm minding my own business.
Good answer.
I like that answer. I'm a fan.
I love it. Okay, Helen, what else do we have? You want to ask another one?
What do I have? Let's see. Okay, so this is a little bit more serious. How do you grapple with the reality of death? Were you afraid of dying when you were religious? And are you afraid of dying now?
This is great because in the past few years, I've spent way more time thinking about this than previously, not just because I'm friends with Dave Warnock, but some of you may be aware that Christmas of 2021, I had triple bypass. I had lost a bunch of weight and went in to see my doctor, and they tried to get me to do a stress test and it failed. And I had bibasilar crackles, which, since probably nobody here, well, very few people might, it sounded like there was a bowl of Rice Krispies in my lung every time I took a breath. That's what's going on in there. And I went in for an angiogram, and they were going to possibly put in a stent, and they were inside my heart for about 5 minutes and immediately stopped and wheeled me out of the room and walked in a couple minutes later. And I said, so how'd it go? And they said, you're going to have a triple bypass next week. And if we could do it today, we probably would, but we need to get you, set up for next week. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh my gosh, that's big. Were you afraid? Were you afraid of death? And no, I might be weird, but when I was around 40, I had idiopathic anaphylaxis, which is an unknown caused serious allergic reaction. And it's just your brain basically says, send out the histamine, and floods the system no matter what's going on. It's not triggered. It's like the most severe food allergy, but without the food. And so it can happen when I'm just laying in bed. It can happen in the middle of the night from a dream or whatever. And so I carried an EpiPen. But my wife at the time, we had to go to the hospital because I was having an episode and my tongue swelled up, and she was freaking out. And I was like, no. You can stop. We're at the hospital. This is where you come for things to get better. And so when I went in for my heart surgery, Arden was of course upset. My brother was upset, and they were there to support me through the whole thing. I never had a moment like that. I'm more practical in that there's something wrong with my heart. These people know how to fix it. They're going to knock me out. They're going to harvest a vein or an artery from my leg. They're going to crack my chest open. By the way, I got a picture of it. Maybe we'll have to put a warning. I'll have Arden grab it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So trigger warning, if you don't want to see a medical photo, look away now. We will tell you verbally.
Well, don't look away now. It's going to take her a couple minutes to get up here.
We'll tell you ahead of time. Yeah. Good call.
But yeah, it was my thought process was, I've done everything that I can do. There's nothing else I
Mhm.
can do. They're going to put me out. They're going to do this surgery, and then I'm either going to die, in which case nothing's going to bother me anymore, or I'm going to recover and I'll deal with whatever difficulties there are, after that. And
Mhm.
that was my take on it. And my recovery was quick. I was on the hospital for like 2.5, 3 days, and was only on pain meds for a day or two after that. I spent the next few months kind of living in my recliner because I didn't have, the ability to get all the way upstairs. Thank you so much, Lee. But when we went in for the surgery, I was excited, and I was like, "Hey, when you're in there working on my heart, can I get a picture of that?" And it's like nobody had ever thought of this before. There were nurses are like, I've been doing these things for 10 or 20 years here, and nobody's ever asked before. And of course, they film the thing, and they're not going to
Mhm.
give me the footage for that, but there's kind of like a cover your ass aspect there. But they did get me a picture of my heart. Now,
Cool.
to be fair, I can't prove this is my heart. It has my name on it, and I would imagine that Dr. Konda, who was my surgeon, could pull up the footage and show that it was my heart. But so yes, I will be happy to show the picture of my heart. Anybody who does not want to see, this is literally the heart beating in my chest while my chest is cracked open. So look away now if we're ready.
Do
All
it.
right, here
Good
we
to
go.
go.
But yeah, that's my fatty heart that was desperately needed repair, and the veins that they harvested and put in there.
Mhm.
I
Wow.
That's
have it on my refrigerator. I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
squeamish about that stuff, and I'm not. I want to do what I can while I'm alive. I'm not afraid of death.
Mhm.
I am, though, like most people, afraid of the way I might die.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I don't want there to be, like most people, I don't want there to be a lot of suffering. That's why this heart thing didn't bother me. I was like, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm either going to wake up or I'm not, work
Right.
it
Yeah.
out. The way I'm most terrified, and it's, even though
Oh,
it
yeah.
won't
Also, the
impact,
picture is gone now. So people who
yes,
looked away, you can come back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
anybody who looked
Go ahead.
away, you can look back and you'll just see terrifying me. But the thing I know that I'm most afraid of dying is having a long drawn out process where I am, where my mental capacities are such that I'm no longer me. And I know it won't bother me. I just know how it will impact the people in my life. And while, Arden would be sad if I died, no matter how I died, having her and others live with this sack of meat, but in a completely different personality, psyche,
Mhm.
memories, desires, all that stuff. And it's imagine if you just had your mind wiped. I mean, it wouldn't
Mhm.
be you anymore. And that's a terrifying prospect, but it's still not about me because I won't know.
Yeah. And that
Mhm.
information about, what you're most concerned about is the impact on other people, as well as the
Mhm.
photo that we just saw of your heart, lets us know that you are not the Grinch. You are a real human
I have a
with a real
heart.
heart.
It functions. It functions way better than it did a couple years ago.
That is great. Wow, thanks for sharing that with us.
My
That
pleasure.
is
I still
Yeah,
have
that was
my little breathing tube thing that they gave me afterwards, where you
yeah.
have to inhale and you have to keep this little button floating. Well, the green screen's going to screw it up, but you got to keep this little button floating. That was the hardest part of my recovery therapy, was sitting there all day, every day, just sucking on that tube to try to keep that little thing rising.
Yeah, the physical therapy afterwards is so important. Do your recovery plan
Yes.
if you were
Somebody
Yeah.
able.
called it the incentive spirometer. Thank you. Because I don't remember what it's called. And yet I'm probably the only person in here right now who not only knows that this is a Galton board, but has a Galton board sitting next to his desk. And what's weird is it demonstrates probabilistic spread. So you can see it's not level. So even though there's a bunch of little balls in there that can go into any one of those slots, you will get a normative distribution out of this. And you can do it over and over again. I was going to use it for a measure. I do it one more time and I'm trying to hold it level. But Forrest and I were doing a show, and he just mentioned a Galton board kind of out of the blue, because he was using it for an example, and I was like, "You mean like this?" Yes.
That's
Huge
awesome.
geek. I've got the Voynich manuscript next to me. I've got my hovel of weirdness right here.
I love it. That is so cool. And that brings me to another question that maybe we can save for the hangout if you're able to stick around for a few more minutes. There were some people who were wondering if you could do a magic trick for us. I don't know if that's something you could do offhand, or if you need to prepare for that.
Well, I don't need to prepare to do a magic trick. I mean, let me move my microphone out of the way. But to do a better magic trick, I just need a minute or two. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, stick around for the hangout, and we're going to bring that question up.
$4,000.
Yes, also that. Well, we don't have that. Hey, speaking of which, we're doing a fundraiser pretty soon. Maybe we should talk about that for a second, and then wrap up and go to the hangout.
Kara's pretty good. You should keep them around to do these fundraiser segues.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. Yeah, let's actually talk about that. Helen, do you want to mention about the fundraiser? What's going on? What are we doing?
Yes. So as Matt knows, that's why he's here. Not only because he thinks we're awesome, but he's also here to help promote the fundraiser. So Matt, I could do that, but since you're here, why don't you talk about what you're going to be doing at the fundraiser and when it is and all that jazzy stuff?
I would do that, but I don't know.
Okay, it's June 2. Okay, so it is this.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
So we're gonna rip the mask off right here. I do a lot of stuff, and I got with Jimmy Snow, and we got together with Gail and Darrel, and anytime somebody says, "Hey, we want to do a fundraiser for RfR, can you help?" I'm like, "Yeah, just tell me what to do." But I don't even know what all's going on. I just know that I'm here to help promote it. And
Matt is doing his part by showing up and lending us his voice. So yeah, we are super pumped about this. It's on June 24th. Yes.
Yes. June
and 24th. I just put the link in the chat.
Yes, you can donate now because we like money. So do that. You don't have to wait for the day of the fundraiser, but it will be this coming Saturday, June 24th. On the line starts at 3 p.m. Central. And Jimmy's going to have a bunch of guests and stuff going on. I hear there's a painting going to be auctioned off by our wonderful troll stomper, Glinda.
Senior troll stomper.
Troll stomper.
Awesome.
So I also want to thank everybody that has been working on this, and especially thanks to Jimmy and everybody at the line. And thank you, I know Arden was here a couple of weeks ago, did a great talk, and everybody in the community has just been really wonderful and supportive to us. So, my deepest thanks on part of recovering from religion. So I guess you might show up on Saturday, Matt.
I think, okay. So here's what I do know.
Okay.
Saturday, I'm going to a reptile convention in San Antonio, but I got a VIP pass, and we're going to drive down Friday night so that we can be there when it opens Monday, and then drive back around noon so that I can be here at 4 to participate. Because when Gail or Darrel asked me to do something, then I just have to say yes, because they're amongst my favorite people. And I would feel like I failed or let a friend down if I didn't find a way to do it. So I do it.
And thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, that means a lot for us and helps us keep the doors open. Yeah, well, we might have. People have already started donating.
Yeah, so yeah.
I think there's something about a matching fund. There's a $25,000 goal.
Yes.
And
25
it's not
grand.
Just gonna be,
it's be great.
Jimmy Snow, me, Arden Hart, Katie Montgomery, Forrest Valkai, Dr. Ben, Aaron Ross, Shanna Q, John Gleason, Dave Warnock, and more. I know I said I don't know what's going on, but sometimes I know a couple of things.
Matt knows a little bit. Well, we got to give him credit for that.
You did a great supporting role, Matt.
Yes. And thank you for coming on with us this evening. And we are going to start wrapping up now. And Matt, do you feel like you might be able to stick around for the hangout and keep chatting with us at all? Or I know you've got other stuff to do, but
Yeah, I can hang out. I'll at least stay for like the first 20, 30 minutes and just so that it's fun. I mean,
awesome.
Fun for me, not
Yeah.
fun for
Yes.
not like yes, I'm bringing the fun. Y'all get ready. I'm bringing the fun for 20
Yes.
minutes.
It's only fun as long as Matt's here. But yes, we only
Yeah.
want you to stay as long as it's fun for you as well. So this benefits everyone. All fun for everyone all around. Okay, well, we will start wrapping up here and move on to that here in just a second. And I will just remind everyone that we will be here again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Next week, we have Armin Navabi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. He is a former Muslim and now an atheist activist, and he's going to be coming to chat with us about his experiences. So definitely don't miss out on that. It's going to be a good show. And if you need more RfRx in your life between now and then, and who doesn't, check out our recordings of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel or on our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us, and we'll be there chatting with you. So also, if you have any questions or comments or ideas for future shows or things like that, don't forget you can email us. It's me at rfrx@recoveringfromreligion.org. And Glinda is showing the painting right now. So check out on your screen if you're here live. That is what you're going to get. So get ready.
It's not
It's
finished.
awesome.
Not finished, but it will be hopefully tomorrow. If you know who it is, you can guess who it is. That means I've done a successful enough job rendering. If you can't, then I need to go back.
I know who it is. You've done
Yes,
a good
I know
job.
it is. I know it is. Yeah.
This is, I don't quite know how we're incorporating it into the fundraiser, but this will be available for those who participate in the fundraiser. You have your chance to win this painting. It's an original acrylic on canvas. And from me, you can have it. I will ship it to you. But you got to participate in the fundraiser. You got to rope your rich friends in to come give us money.
Yes, bring your rich friends.
Yes.
This is how they can make an impact. Thank you, Glinda. That is wonderful. Okay, and don't forget to follow us at the blog and the podcast. And Helen, where can people find us on the social medias? How do they interact with us and spread the word?
Okay, so for all of you who haven't been on the internet at all, but if you have a Facebook, you can go to our Facebook main page. We also have a Facebook support group page. So I mean, get additional support on there. A lot of our agents hanging on there and talk to people on the Facebook, but we have our main page, which gives all the info about us. We are on Twitter. I hopefully for a long time. I don't know. Depends if Elon drives it into the ground. I don't know, but we are on the Twitter, and we are on Instagram, and we are on TikTok. So if you are on the socials, hit likes, heart, share, comment, all the things to do engagement, because it does help actually help people get to us if they're dealing with issues of doubt and non-belief. And always share those socials, man. It's a really big help. So please, we would really appreciate if you did that. Okay, so we're ready to wrap up. Oh yeah, Darrel's here. Hi,
Don't forget Darrel.
Darrel.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about how much you like this talk and such?
Well, Matt left, so I can't talk to Matt, but I want to tell everyone Matt has been a supporter of our Recovery from Religion since the very beginning. I mean, like day one. He's unfailing in his support of what we do. And we need to thank Jimmy Snow on the line for jumping in here and working with Matt to make this all happen. I've had hundreds of people over the years tell me that they found us through Matt. And I've also had even more hundreds of people say, my mind was changed by watching Matt do his thing with the debating people. So Matt's had an enormous impact on a whole lot of people. And we get, I don't know, sometimes I estimate we get somewhere between 15 and 20% of all the people who come to us come through something Matt's affiliated with. He's had that much impact. And Matt, I don't know if I ever told you my snake story, but my mother had a rule that we could not have snakes in my house.
Mhm.
Did I ever tell you that story?
I believe so, but everybody else should hear it.
Yeah, so my mother, no snakes. We could have anything else. We had rats, we had guinea pigs, we had pigeons, we had dogs, cats, you name it, we had it, but no snakes. And one day a snake slithered across the kitchen floor. My mother, my mother brought all four of us boys in, made us stand in the kitchen, and she lectured us, saying, "I know one of you brought a snake into this house, and I don't care who it was, but you're going to find that snake. And when you find that snake, you're going to take it out in the yard and chop it into 12 pieces, not 11, 12 pieces. And nobody gets supper until that snake is chopped up into 12 pieces." And we argued with our best legal minds, "Mom, that would be murder. We can't do that. That would be horrible." She would not budge, and we were hungry. So we finally found the snake. We all knew the snake was in the house because my brother had been keeping it in a cage underneath his bed for months. We don't know how it got out. So we ended up having to take it out, chop it into 12. And she watched, had to chop it into 12 pieces. And then and only then did we get supper. We never violated that rule after that. So there you go. I was probably traumatized by that.
I'm sad, Darrel.
Well, we were all crying our eyes out because she'd made us murder a snake. So anyway, I think I'm on your show Wednesday night with you, Matt. Is that a true statement?
I believe that's correct. If I knew more about my own show, I would have already said that, but I don't know more about my own show.
Okay. And Gail's on tomorrow night with Dave Warnock.
Dave.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Dave was supposed to be at the conference this weekend, but Bevan, his partner, had a surgery and wasn't able to come, and he needs her to travel. So I was sorry, Matt and I didn't get to see Dave. Anyway, fundraiser this coming Saturday, September 24th. Hope you guys will join us for it.